Hey there. You ever have that thought? I'm not that smart. I'm just, like everyone else. If you have, then you are in exactly the right place. Seriously. Because one thing I've noticed about the most brilliant people I've ever met is they all think they're pretty average. So if that little voice of self-doubt sounds familiar, I really want you to stick with me here. It's a feeling that connects way more of us than you'd think. And today, we're going to unpack why that feeling might be the biggest clue you're missing about yourself. We're going to dive into 5 specific and, yeah, maybe a little weird habits that are actually huge signs of an exceptionally high IQ. And this isn't about, test scores or fancy degrees. This is about how your mind just works. And hey, do me a favor, pay really close attention when we get to number 4. I promise you it is going to completely reframe the way you see overthinking. It might just turn what you think is a flaw into your greatest superpower. Okay, let's jump right in. Habit number 1, being a master of patterns and connections. If you're the person who is always connecting the dots when no one else is, well, this one's for you. See, high IQ brains are basically pattern recognition machines on steroids. You instinctively see the hidden connections in conversations, in data, in people's behavior, all the stuff that just flies right over most people's heads. Does this sound familiar? You say, I knew that was going to happen, and people just look at you totally baffled, like, how could you possibly know? It's because your brain is scanning everything 24/7. And honestly, it can be exhausting. Because once you see a pattern, you just can't unsee it. So that leads us right into our second habit, which is all about solving problems that nobody even asked you to solve. This is for anyone who looks at a clunky process and feels an almost physical need to fix it. Most people live by that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But your brain, nope, it's wired completely differently. You're always thinking, how could I make this better? How could I automate this? You see the world not just for what it is, but for what it could be, a much more streamlined, logical place. For you, optimizing a system or finding a new shortcut, that's not work. It's not a chore. It's a form of cognitive play. It's actually fun. The only real downside is that frustration you feel when other people just don't see the obvious solution that is so crystal clear in your mind. All right, let's talk about habit number 3. And this one might feel a little countercultural in our noisy world. It's the power of actually enjoying silence. Think about it. For so many people, silence is just awkward. They get uncomfortable being alone with their own thoughts. But for you, it's a sanctuary. Silence is where your brain finally gets the breathing room it needs to organize all that chaos, to connect all those patterns we talked about. It's where those amazing aha moments are actually born. And let's be really clear here, this is not about being antisocial. It's about using your mind as a secret weapon. In a world that is constantly screaming for your attention, the ability to just sit quietly and think is everything. It's how you process, it's how you strategize, it's how you create. And here we are, number 4. The one I told you to wait for. We're going to talk about overthinking. Because yes, highly intelligent people do it all the time, but probably not in the way you think. So the word overthinking gets thrown around a lot, but it's used to describe 2 completely different things. One of them is destructive, and the other is a hallmark of genius. And this is the key difference. See, most people overthink in circles. They just loop the same worry over and over and over, which just leads to anxiety. But you think in layers. You're like a chess grandmaster, mentally simulating every possibility, planning 10 moves ahead and finding every potential pitfall. That's not worry, that's strategy. So please, hear this. What you might be calling an anxiety disorder is actually strategic depth. By the time you finally make your move in the real world, you've already lived through every possible failure in your mind, and you have a plan for all of them. And that brings us to our 5th and, honestly, maybe the most surprising habit of all. It's the art of appearing normal. It's about how much intelligence it takes to consciously just blend in. It's kind of a 3-step process, right? First, your brain grasps a really complex idea. Then, step 2, you figure out how to translate that complexity into simple, easy-to-understand terms. And third, you use that skill to connect with people, to blend in, without ever making anyone feel dumb. This is really where raw intellect meets emotional intelligence. It's this deep understanding that being smart isn't about using big words to show off. It's about being an effective communicator. It's about empathy. And that's really the heart of it. Real genius isn't about sounding smart yourself. It's about having the intelligence and the confidence to make other people feel smart when they're talking to you. So, as we wrap this up, if you recognized yourself in even just a couple of these habits, please don't downplay it. That feeling of being just average, it might be the biggest misunderstanding you have about yourself. Your habits are basically revealing your inner genius. I'm so curious. Take a second and really think about it. How many of these 5 habits hit home for you? Was it one? Was it all 5? And what's another weird habit you have that you've always kind of wondered about? Let's meet up in the comments below. I would love to see just how many of us are out there secretly geniuses just trying to act normal. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.